Hello Internet, my name is Lave and I've got something special for you this week, something that I think needs to be talked about because last Thursday was the 75th anniversary of the famous World War II mission Operation Chastise, aka the Dam Busters. So to celebrate, the Royal Albert Hall put on this big show where they did a 4K restoration of the film which got streamed to local cinemas, and my dad asked me if I wanted to go and see it and I was like, absolutely. So he took me and my mum and it was fantastic. The pre-show featured TV historian Dan Snow talking about events about the film. It had guests which included family members of the director and everyone involved in the film and former squadron members. It also felt like we were going back to school because they recreated some of the experiments which they actually did to make these bouncing bombs. It was also incredibly moving as well because the director Michael Anderson, who previously directed films like Logan's Run and Around the World in 80 Days, sadly passed away 3 weeks earlier. His granddaughter was there and read extracts from his memoirs. So the whole event for me just gave me context about the film and the raid, and then we got the film itself, which primarily follows Barnes Wallis as he's developing his concept of the bouncing bomb, which he believes does work and would shorten the war by several years if it was put into action. But he keeps taking it to various committees, they keep rejecting it, so he manages to get a meeting with Bomber Harris, who sees the potential, so they start developing it even further. As things start to get moving, you meet Guy Gibson, a pilot selected to recruit and lead an elite squadron to go and do the business. And the film strikes a lovely balance between these two narratives as you see Barnes Wallis finally getting approval for his design, so he upscales it and tests it using the Wellington plane which he himself designed to test bigger versions of the bombs, not always successfully at first. At the same time, you see Guy Gibson recruiting his team and training them to fly at low levels, first at 150 feet, but then he gets told he's got to do it at 60 feet. So you see them trying to figure out how to guarantee to get to that height, and you see actual footage of Lancasters flying at that level. It's incredible. As this is all happening, you see the mutual respect and admiration between Wallis and Gibson. Gibson believes this madcap idea could actually work, and Wallis hugely admires the courage of these men, which he is ultimately sending into danger. Not only that, the film does a fantastic job of demonstrating the camaraderie between the elite squadron, who are made up of various people. You get people from Australia, people from New Zealand and from Canada, as well as the British pilots. But then you see the banter between the other squadrons who are going out and doing their regular missions, and see this elite squadron just training all the time. So they get called the sofa squadron. That side of the film is quite funny as well. But then it turns to poignancy as you see them preparing to go on their mission, and then you see who don't actually make it back. Another benefit from the pre-show, which I really appreciated, was that they were able to play us footage of Guy Gibson overlaid with an audio interview that he gave in America prior to his death. So it really gave you a sense of who this guy was. And it made me appreciate Richard Todd's performance for him. He's very well respected, and just what a leader. How brave was this guy? He does a fantastic job. All of the cast do a great job. Another star of the show is the Avro Lancaster itself. I was genuinely surprised at how much footage was actually real. So you see real Avro Lancasters firing up their engines, taking off on the runway and flying at 60 feet above the ground. The aerial photography is fantastic. Obviously, some of the practical effects haven't aged too well. You can see some of the rear projection techniques that they use. They paint some of the anti-aircraft fire and the explosions of the dams, and you can't help but notice when they use models and you can see the wires with the little model planes. But then that's just how it was done back in the day. I personally think it adds to its charm, but you can also see how it influenced future filmmakers. In the build up to the film, they mentioned that Steven Spielberg was heavily influenced by this film, and also George Lucas. Now, I knew that in preparation for Star Wars, George Lucas cut together World War II footage of dogfights to show how he wanted Star Wars A New Hope to end. And I really, really noticed it during the film. Take a look at this comparison.
I'm here, leader. Here, leader. Here, leader.
Red 10 standing by.
Red 7 standing by.
Red 3 standing by.
Red 6 standing by.
My goodness, it's big, isn't it? Can we really break that?
Look at the size of that thing.
Cut the channel, Red 2.
How many guns do you think there are, Trevor? I say there's about 10 guns.
How many guns do you think, Gold 5?
Say about 20 guns. Some on the surface, some on the towers.
35, that's 5. 35.
It's away!
It's gone! We've done it!
Negative.
Still there.
That's how influential this film is. However, there is something controversial about it, which I do have to mention. It's the elephant in the room, and we got a warning before the film was played that there is some language which in today's age isn't quite appropriate surrounding Guy Gibson's dog and the dog's name. I have seen this film before, but I don't remember the dog having such a big part. So as a modern cinema goer and as someone who's been raised not to say this word, I did find it a bit awkward. But then they did keep it as it was filmed. I'm kind of glad that they didn't try to retroactively dub it by calling the dog something else. But still, every time the dog was on screen, it was like, oh. Other than that, this film completely holds up. I thoroughly enjoyed seeing it on the big screen. It's a wonderful tribute to the bravery and the ingenuity of everyone involved, and you can't help but feel patriotic. So that's my thoughts on the Dam Busters, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. There's been talks forever about Peter Jackson doing a remake of this. Now, interestingly, before we went into this, my dad was all up for it, but having seen it again, he was like, nah, he can't improve on that any further. And I see where he's coming from, but I personally think with today's modern technology and modern filming techniques, I would absolutely love to see this remade if they do it right. And I think Peter Jackson could do it right. Maybe for the 80th anniversary. Come on, Peter Jackson, let's do this. So thanks very much for watching my review of the Dam Busters. I really do appreciate it. If you've seen it, let me know what you thought down in the comments. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching this review. I really do appreciate it. If you can, give this video a like, and don't forget to share the Lave. Subscribe.